It's Thursday, May 3rd, 2018. It's time for a little bit of nostalgia tripping, which is the Thursday show that I do. And by try to think of what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to remember, what I wanted to nostalgize. So I thought, why not one of my favorite movies of all time? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, first off, Ferris. What a stupid name. Why would you name your kid Ferris? Maybe he was conceived on a Ferris wheel. I don't know, but why would you name your kid Ferris? I mean, think about it. Think about Ferris, 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 Ferris. It's a horrible name, but great movie. Love the movie. Um, my earliest memory is my parents rented the movie. This is when you had to rent VHS movies way back in the day. The movie was released in 1986 in June. Made about 70 million at the box office, and it only cost about 6 million to make. So it did very well for itself. Uh, the movie, of course, is about Ferris Bueller, and he's ditching school because he's going to be going to college the next year, and he wants one big blowout with his friends and his girlfriend, or his friend and his girl. It's amazing how popular Ferris Bueller was, and he really only had one friend that, you know, had any kind of real ties to him. That, of course, being, Cameron. Um, so of course, the whole thing is the whole story of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is him taking the day off and, of course, having to fool all of the adults in the process and enjoying the day off. If you're watching this video, you probably know what Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Oh, by the way, there, the movie is over 30 years old, so I shouldn't have to even say this, but I don't want anybody complaining in the comments about spoilers. So I'm going to give away a lot of the plot. I'm going to give away the ending. I'm going to give away everything. So if you've never seen this movie, where have you been? And why would you click on this video? But just so you know, if you want to go watch the movie and you don't want it ruined, because I'm going to tell everything. I'm not holding back. I'm going to be nostalgic and remembering it. I got like this fuzzy thing in the corner of my eye. It's driving me nuts. Okay. So, my earliest memory, of course, I didn't see this movie in the theater. This wasn't a movie my parents ever wanted to see. And if I wanted to see a movie, my parents had to want to see the movie too. And back in 1986, when it was released, I was only 12 years old. So, I'm not going to be just given money and said, yeah, go to the movie theater that's about 2 miles away. Probably not going to happen. So, my earliest memory is when they rented it, and they rented it on VHS. So, watched the movie once, and of course, I loved it. I just absolutely loved the movie. So, in the summertime, this is probably maybe the summer of 87 or 88. I think it was the summer of, no, I was 13 years old, so it was the summer of 87. Uh, there were 2 day rentals, and I asked my dad to rent Ferris Bueller's Day Off because I was out of school. It was the summertime. So, in a 2 day time span, I watched the movie 13 times. And yes, I did keep track. I counted each time I watched it because I tried to watch it. I would watch it, rewind it, and only take breaks for meals, basically. And I watched it as many times as I could because I knew I only had it for 2 days. It's not like it is now where you can buy it for you can buy it for $10 online and it's on a hard drive. Or back then VHSs were a little bit more expensive, and I didn't have a budget for VHSs because my parents weren't just going to buy them for me randomly. It's like if they didn't want the movie, it wasn't going to probably be bought. So I watched it about 13 times. Or I watched it 13 times, exactly 13 times. I remember I counted them. By the end of the 13 times, of course, I had the movie pretty much memorized, all the dialogue memorized, everything was memorized. Still, some of my favorite, one of my favorite cars to this day is still that car, the California, that Ferrari California GT. It's beautiful. Now, back when I'm first watching this movie, and of course at the end of the movie when Cameron kicks the car off of the jack and it goes rolling off out of the back of the garage and onto the ground and it basically dies. I thought they destroyed a real Ferrari. I'm a kid. I don't know these things. I was only 13 years old, so I didn't know. I just thought, oh, that's a real Ferrari, and they destroyed it. Years later, you find out it's just a kit car. They wouldn't destroy a real Ferrari, especially one of those. I think that Ferrari would probably be $1 million car easy in that condition. So it's just one of those movies that it's like there's so many parts that I absolutely love. The part, of course, where they're in the parade. I thought Ferris Bueller was really singing that song. I didn't know he was lip syncing a Beatles song. I just thought he was really singing it. In an entire town that's looking for this kid, they've got things like Save Ferris and all these things are all over the place, and nobody knows what Ferris Bueller looks like, and he's among them, and he's in the middle of them. But there's like a billboard that says Save Ferris. I think a tower that says. I mean, I'm going, come on. Nobody sees this kid. Nobody. How is this kid this big of a deal? He's just a high school kid, but he was a big deal. But they go, of course, to the art museum, and they just sit there and stare at the art. And they're, they go to the fancy restaurant. And he's the sausage king of Chicago. It's so. Abe Froman, I think, was the name. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie actually in quite a long time. I haven't seen it in probably 10 years. I got my fill of it when I was younger. And it was one of those movies that spoke to me when I was younger. Because I wanted to have a life like Ferris Bueller's. I wanted to have a girlfriend like Sloane Peterson. I wanted to have a buddy like Cameron Fry. I wanted to have those things. I wanted to be able to get away with stuff. I never got away with anything when I was a kid. He gets away with everything. I wanted to be that guy. Of course, the one thing, it's like he of course has he's playing with his computer, and one of my favorite lines is he goes, "I asked for a car, I got a computer. How's that for being born under a bad sign?" He could change his days that he missed with the computer. I wanted a computer that did all that cool stuff. For some reason, Matthew Broderick always had computers that could tie into school stuff. In War Games, he could change his grades. And that was a movie that predated Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And then in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, he's changing how many times he's been out of school. The principal. Oh, the principal is awesome. It's like, you start to appreciate more about how this guy always got fooled by me. He just wanted to catch him. He just wanted to catch him once. And he's on the phone and he's going 9 times. It's like, I don't remember Ferris being sick 9 times. Well, this was because he wasn't being sick. He was probably skipping school. Wake up, Mrs. Bueller. I don't know all the lines like I used to. I haven't seen it in years. But of course, Grace is hilarious as his secretary, who, says, "You sounded like Dirty Harry there." And it's like, oh, but it's just one of those movies that it's like I wanted to be like Ferris Bueller. Because me and my sister, we had a relationship when we were kids. We argued and we didn't get along real well. We had our own. I could spend hours by myself and be fine, and she had to have her friends around and she was more social than I was, which is probably served her a lot better in her life than my antisocial ways when I was younger. Because it's funny, if she needs help with something, she has this whole network of friends that she can kind of look to and have them help her with something. Me, I've got to do it myself because I don't. She keeps in touch with people that she knew in school. I mean, she does that. She's got all these people that she still knows. I don't do that. it seems like she might have been Ferris Bueller more than I was Ferris Bueller, because I used to think, being, of course, I'd always thought she got away with everything. Of course, she was the little sister, and I always thought I always got blamed for things that, even though in it, Ferris Bueller is the younger brother, because Jeannie is old. No, Jeannie's the younger sister. Jeannie is younger, because Ferris is going to go to college, and Jeannie is, I think only it's a junior. She's got to go through another year of school, I think. But she's got a Pontiac Fiero. I wanted that car. So, it's one of those movies that I remember it fondly because I wanted to be Ferris Bueller. I wanted the computer. I wanted the life. I wanted to be able to get away with things like Ferris Bueller got away with. I wanted that. He was obviously popular because they were, passing around a collection thing trying to get money to buy him a new kidney. You have to be popular if people are going to do that. And people were donating. I mean, people were dropping money. He's just going through and dropping, you know. I wanted, I don't know if I wanted to pretend like I needed a new kidney, but, and his computer could make burping and farting noises, when you're 13 years old. That's hilarious. It's probably still funny now, but it's definitely one of those movies that is definitely one of my favorites of all time. For a long, long time, it was my favorite movie of all time. But as I got older, I found other movies that I liked a little bit better. But it's still one of those movies that if it's on, I'll watch it. I don't hate the movie. It's not like I got older and said, oh, well, now it's just stupid. No, no, no. It's still great. It's still a great movie. I still remember it fondly. It still makes me smile thinking about some of the lines from the movie, thinking about some of the scenes, thinking about, just all that stuff. I mean, the part where I wish I could remember. I don't know why I can't remember the principal's name right now. And it bugs me that I can't remember his name. But I think his first name is Ed. So I can remember Ed, I can remember Grace, I can remember Jeannie. And of course, what's his face was in there. That's right, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen had a bit part in that movie, and of course we all remember that scene. If you watch that movie, you remember the scene where he's sitting in there with Jeannie, and you're going, how the heck did they get Charlie Sheen to do that movie? Because Charlie Sheen was probably more of a big deal than Matthew Broderick was at the time. Now, I have a couple of questions. First question, why did I never get my Ferris Bueller's Day Off video game? They made video games about almost every movie from the 80s. They made them about Home Alone. They made them about Back to the Future. They made them about Terminator. All these 80s movies had video games. There was no Ferris Bueller's Day Off video game. Where's my Ferris Bueller's Day Off video game? I demand it. And then they had a terrible TV show. They had a terrible TV show for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Look that one up. The star of it was a guy named Charles Schlatter. Not Christian Slater, Charles Schlatter. The show was awful. It was just terrible. It was kind of there was a show that did it a little bit better called Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was almost like Ferris Bueller's Day Off on a TV show. But Parker Lewis Can't Lose did it better than Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the TV show, did. So what's your favorite memory from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? It's like, I think I'm trying to remember everything all at the same time, and it's just all flooding into my head, and I can't vocalize it. So put in the comments what your favorite memories are, and so that I could, sit there and go, I remember that too. That was awesome. So, with all that being said, to the troops, past, present, and future, thanks for the freedom.